Davey, how do you manage disappointment on Tuesday to bounce back?
I think you just go again. I think lost the game, a lot of comments about the park. I think people they kind of underestimate how hard it was to try and play football and that. Maybe I got a wee bit of it wrong. Park hadn't been played on for 3 weeks, so I was expecting it, and the temperatures have been a wee bit better, so I was expecting it to be a wee bit better than what it was. And then when I walked out before the game, I said they've been training on the park, they've not fixed the park, they've been training on it. And again, it's just a bit of game management. I don't mind that happening in football. And I felt I probably should have changed the team before the game, changed the personnel, changed the shape, but I let it run. I think the first 20 minutes was difficult. I thought it was difficult, we never really quite got to grips with it. They were really, really direct. The keeper probably had more entries into our final third than any other players, bar their goal. And then we had to change the shape within the game, and then we lose a really, really cheap goal. Probably one of the games where coming back in the next day, it hurts you, but it should hurt you. The boys are not used to losing games, let's be honest. They've not lost a lot of games of football this year, so they're not used to it, which is a good thing. I think it's about putting the game into perspective. We'd have played a lot more football than we did if the park was in a better condition. It wasn't. We lost a poor goal from our point of view, and we created 2 or 3 chances ourselves. I think Tetty's got one with his header, Pitts has got one in his left foot. Put it into perspective, be pragmatic. Probably it's a pointing down the road, and it should have been a clean sheet because we shouldn't be losing that goal.
The game sort of reminded me of Partick away with the Park and how it sort of ended up.
I would say it probably reminded me of the previous league game there. Maybe not so much the cup game. So if you go and look at I shall use, and I can say this, and there's 5 games left, 4 of them on an AstroTurf, one's at Morton. So you kind of can control the game a wee bit more, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're going to be at Hamilton, who are fighting for the lives, and we've got 3 home games. I'm not really bored what the opposition does here, it's what we do. But if you look at the games this year, where I'll say we probably fell a wee bit short in terms of our own expectations. Raith Rovers away, game was really direct, 2 games, 2 league games. Oh. Partick Thistle away, 2 league games, game was really direct again, direct, physical, missed the midfield out, and probably two away games against Dunfermline. So when you look at the clubs in and around that area, them away from home, everybody's home form slightly better. Everybody's home form, so the game's always going to be a wee bit more difficult. Partick, we pick up 2 points. Raith Rovers, we don't pick up any point. We pick up 3 points in the first game, but I thought the game was. I thought we were a wee bit fortunate in that game to pick the 3 points up. In all honesty, second game we lose that, and then the 2 games against Dunfermline has kind of been. Surface has not been great. Maybe not so much the first time, to be fair. But it kind of had an impact on how we wanted to play, what we wanted to do. But I felt we've had a good blend this year between we can mix it as well, because Ayr United away stood up to the test twice.
Yeah.
We can mix it as well, but don't know. It's just difficult games of football, brings different challenges, different. I think that's the 3rd manager we've played under Dunfermline, so everything's a wee bit different at that point. I think you could even say that. I think the two games against Raith Rovers was Potsy in charge, John Potter.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
So you're coming into these, and it's not excuses. That's definitely no excuses, but it's me trying to be pragmatic. So every game, these games away from home have been difficult. When you go away to Falkirk, you know what to expect. Ayr United, we know what to expect. Raith and Dunfermline kind of caught us, if I'm honest, by the game becoming really direct. So you live and learn, but I definitely think we're a wee bit unfortunate not to take anything for the game on Wednesday night, albeit we never done enough to win the game. I don't think we deserve to win the game, but I think we're a wee bit unfortunate not to take something from the game.
What are you expecting from Queen's Park after Sunday? Do you
Difficult one, eh?
Yeah.
Difficult one. Everybody's just expecting you to go in there and just pick up 3 points based on Sunday and then based on their game midweek. I don't think football works like that. So I think we've got to be very wary that doesn't fall into our psyche. It's not something that I'm going to allow the boys to think about. Sundays are irrelevant. It's going to have no impact on the game on Saturday. Wednesday night they go and lose 5 goals again. I don't think that's going to have any impact. We can't let that have an impact on how we approach the game. So we're at home, we need 3 points. We want to be second come 4:50 on Saturday. So how we'll approach the game is how we want to play, what we want to do. They're coming to our place, so let them worry about us.
Also, you talked about them the last couple of games. They've conceded 10 goals. Are you expecting them to come in and make it very, very difficult?
I expected, in all honesty, King and Devine to maybe help them a wee bit when they came back into the squad on Wednesday. Obviously, wasn't the case, similar scorelines. But they're in a wee bit of a transitional moment, really, aren't they? They've kind of hit a low at a really dangerous time of the season. So, but you've got to remember, the group of players were still that group of players that went to Ibrox and put Rangers out of the Scottish Cup. Yeah. Still a group of players that up until probably January, February time were chasing top 4. So I think it's important that we know that, we understand that. But again, it's what we bring. But does it bring a bit of, does it make it a wee bit more difficult in terms of knowing what to expect from the game? Probably. But that's where then my focus then comes to what we're going to do and kind of try and take their last 2 results out of the picture, because it should be irrelevant coming into the game tomorrow.
We're obviously coming into the tail end of the season, Davey. What's been the hardest thing that you've had to manage since the change in divisions?
I don't know, I've really enjoyed this season. I think the huge turnaround in the summer, the negative momentum in and around the club in the summer, bringing in a lot of new players to the football club, and then trying to win games of football, but you're also trying to progress that group as a group. Yeah. So you're looking for the relationships to build, you're trying to get them as quick as possible. So I would have probably said the start of the season, because it takes a lot of mental energy from you, you've got to put a lot into your coaching. That's not just on the park, in here talking to players and analysis staff. So we've got a lot of new group of players coming in. It's part of the game that I actually really enjoy, but there was a huge challenge at the start of the season. 1, you win games of football, and 2, you integrate the new players into the current group, and then 3, there's been, hopefully the fans can see, there's been a different approach to how we play football this year in terms of our style of play. So again, there was a huge shift in a lot of the basic fundamentals that were there last year are now lost, or the previous years, not even just the year before, the previous years were lost. We had to rip it up and start again, so to speak, and that took a lot of energy for the staff within the building, not just me, Chipper, Neely, Potsy, Andy, Cheb. Like a new analyst came in, so Sam just come in. So again, I've got to kind of coach Sam and tell him how I want the information delivered within sessions and what I'm looking for. So shifting that negative momentum for last year, and then the huge turnaround in staff that we had at the club. And if I'm being honest, still at the start of the year, we're still in kind of litigation. I don't think the litigation ended around December time, so that was still kind of hanging over the club. Back
to the sort of more fun side of things.
Is there a fun side?
Could be.
Okay.
We'll make it fun.
It was fun on Sunday.
Well, it was fun.
For a period. Then you just worry about them filming.
But now we've got football for a £5 on Saturday. We've had Soccer Shop and the Trust buy 100 tickets for community groups. Brilliant. And had a wee look at the sales just before I came in. You're looking at maybe a couple of hundred left in the home end, which is quite good.
And never stand?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of hundred. And
that's amazing.
Most of them are sort of going.
Brilliant, that's absolutely fantastic. I think there was a few clubs doing it, but Dave obviously pushed it via the agenda in here. And I think everybody said to him, go for it. go for it, two Johns, because we were all kind of in a chat together, and David said, "Look, this is what I was thinking," and he said, "I go for it." So that's brilliant, great initiative with Dave and everybody involved in that. And it's, do you know what, one of the most pleasing things there you just said is that we maybe can sell out the home stand, but the trust feels like that from the supporters trust.
Yeah.
I feel that, I don't know, it's just me, that's now a couple of times I've heard them helping out the club, and going forward I think that's got to be a relationship that gets developed between the trust and the football club. So really, really nice to hear that they've bought some tickets for the local community, because for me that's what the trust are all about, eh?
Yeah.
Helping people come into games of football that maybe can't afford games of football. Seen a lot of messages on the cup final with the young kids that probably wouldn't have got to that cup final if the tickets for their parents weren't available for free. So brilliant. And if we can get see every week the difference it would make. I've been here now 11 years. See the difference it would make if we could get that main stand full every week. I don't think you understand the difference it could make on the park. It would be absolutely, probably 5 very good players, potentially 3 top players, so 3 players that you probably couldn't have signed if you used that money. You could get them in the building, but it would definitely bring you in 5 very good players if you could manage to go and get 1,000, 1,100 fans and fill the stand. I think the main stand's roughly sitting at, it was 2-3, but we stole a couple of seats for media boxes for VAR and stuff like that. So I think we're probably sitting around 2,200, right, something along the lines. That'd be huge, and it's brilliant. Listen, see walking out the tunnel, the difference it has in the park, it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Finally, Davey, you've spoken about investment at the club. Is there any further updates on that?
No, to be really, really honest with you, they came over, they were in exclusivity period, and the two Johns have kind of been dealing with that with Dave. So I've been kept at arm's length, which I'm more than happy about. John Ward more so will give me a wee phone I've always touched base with John anyway throughout the years. It's just been the relationship we've had. Wee phone call a couple of times. So John will maybe drop me a wee update just on the back of how's the team looking, what you thinking, big game, XXX. And by the way, he's not phoning me to tell me about the investment. I think it's coming along nicely. I think the club has managed to repair its relationship with a former director, which I think is huge going forward. I think there's been a lot of water under the bridge, and I think that needs to be getting forgotten about, because there was a lot of good people at this football club when I first came into the club. But hopefully we can repair, mend bridges, investment comes in, gives the club a kind of new start. Does that make sense? New start, new ownership, and the club can kind of kick on. And I think we need fresh ideas, I think we need fresh energy, and I think we need investment. I was doing a wee bit myself, I kind of work on things myself. You look a lot of companies are now posting their accounts.
Yeah.
You'll be hard pushed to find anybody in Scottish football that makes money. Now, we're one of the clubs that made money last year, £50,000, something along the lines. And then if you take in the historical court costs that were there last year, budget cuts, I think that came off the back of 2 quarter-finals, Premier Sports Cup and the Scottish Cup, that then went into paying court costs, but there was a small deficit, profit left at the end of the season. I think St Johnstone's made a profit, and I think Celtic's made a profit. See, if you go down the rest of the Premier League and then drop down into the Champ, I think you're struggling to find 20% of teams that make a profit, and some clubs are losing millions of pounds.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of...
I've been keeping track. England's worse. There's actually clubs in England increased their turnover by 30-40%, but their losses have actually increased to £5-6-7 million, and their turnover's rising. Wrexham, look at Wrexham. I think Wrexham lost £8 million and got their turnover up to 28 million. Northampton, there's a lot of clubs, and I think that shows you the landscape in Scottish football. And I've been banging the drum about investment probably for about 3 years now. Because community clubs like us aren't going to be sustainable, because the clubs below you who do have investment are just, the gap's getting bigger, the gap's getting bigger, the gap's getting bigger, the gap's getting bigger, and then at that point you've got a choice as a club. Do we keep trying to get to the Premier League, or do we keep trying to stay in the Premier League, or do we become a top League One bottom championship team if you've not got that investment.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's where it's going. You're going to land. So I think the landscape in football is changing worldwide. It's probably a ripple effect for England. The club needs investment. I don't think we're a million miles away from that. And I don't think it's a group that's coming in to throw millions of pounds into the football club. It's a group that's coming in to support the football club. They're going to back the football club, and they're going to put money into the football club in terms of investment, try to grow the fan base, and they're going to help out in the budget. So for me, that's the owners that you want, who can put their hand in their pocket if needed, but it's not the be all and end all, because what happens when you've got kind of that model, when these owners get fed up, they leave the club with millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of debt and directors' loans, and then the club then becomes unsustainable again. Yeah. So I think, speaking to the two Johns, they had options where they probably could have made money from their shares, and they chose not to. So they chose not to make a profit on their shares because they believed the group that they had chosen was going to be the best sustainable model for Livingston Football Club going forward. And I think that's testament to the two guys, John Ward and John McElvoy, because I know a lot of people involved in football, and maybe previous people at this football club would have been looking to make a huge return on their investment, and then that money doesn't come into the football club. Does that make sense? Yeah. So they've chosen this group very wisely based on what the group can bring to the football club, know what the group can bring to their pockets.